Deputy Pearse.
The rete son Páirtí hen féin agus nálaigh wai a gcíile tain agus le na teachtaí agus na seanadaí agus foran omlan tithí na Oireachtas a thug cuaireadh maidún ar riad na bliana agus na máin fásta agus ahanana níos a gopur sa teaseo tasúla go mbeidh nálaigh wai agus bíanaar faoi bháise agus go mbeidh dilíc arásin seo sláin sábhailte in 2019. Ich can cóirle boilm an ceisio ar dúniú tíise. Yesterday, the liquidators of IBRC, the successors of Anglo-Irish Bank and Irish Nationwide, confirmed that junior bondholders, unsecured and unguaranteed at Anglo, who gambled during the banking collapse, are going to be paid in full a total sum of €270 million in the coming weeks. And the payment of hundreds of millions of euros of taxpayers' money is a betrayal of the Irish people, who both bailed out Anglo-Irish Bank and Irish Nationwide to the tune of €35 billion. This issue was first raised back in 2015, Taoiseach, and a line should have been drawn at that stage, but it wasn't. We were all assured from the former Taoiseach Enda Kenny, he told us it wouldn't happen. The former Finance Minister Michael Noonan told us it wouldn't happen. The Taoiseach Joan Burton said it wouldn't happen, and you yourself, Taoiseach, at the time said that it wouldn't happen. But lo and behold, 3 years later, we all know that these unguaranteed, unsecured junior bondholders are now to be paid in full. An early Christmas present for the bondholders, while the rest of us are left picking up a tab of €30 billion for a bank that should never have been bailed out in the first place. The former Governor of the Central Bank, Taoiseach Patrick Honohan, argued strenuously against paying these bondholders. He told the department officials in the Department of Finance back in 2015 that there was a moral case for making sure that any money recovered from the liquidation of IBRC is returned to the taxpayer and not to junior bondholders. In one of his emails that he sent to the Department of Finance in March 2015, he said, "The more I think about it, the more I am convinced that the state should take steps to ensure that unexpectedly strong asset disposals from IBRC liquidators return to the state and not to subordinate debt holders. Instead, under your watch, bondholders are in line for a bumper payout." Scandalous stuff, Taoiseach, but hardly surprising given your track record. A fortnight ago, a senior banker at Irish Nationwide, who was responsible for all commercial lending originating in this state, was given a minimal penalty for reckless lending. And when pressed, you refused to back our call to make reckless lending a crime, despite it being a criminal offence in Britain, despite the central bank supporting our call for reckless lending to be made a crime. The ongoing prioritisation of the banks, the bankers, the vulture funds continues under your watch, while mortgage holders and taxpayers are left picking up the bill. And we shouldn't forget that all of this was designed, the architects of all of this was Fianna Fáil and the bankers at that time. But this is €270 million being paid out to unguaranteed, unsecured junior bondholders who gambled on a bust bank and can't believe their luck with this government. So, Taoiseach, I'm asking you, what steps are you going to take to make sure that you deliver on your promise back in 2015 that these bondholders won't be paid out? Or is it going to be more of the rollover Leo?
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach.
I'm starting to wonder, never mind rollover Leo, I'm starting to wonder where Mary Lou is these days. Does she? Clearly indicates the priorities of the Sinn Féin party in the busiest and most important week of a Dáil session. But to answer the question, Ceann Comhairle, the special liquidators of IBRC announced yesterday that they will shortly commence the payment of the final dividend of 50% to admitted unsecured creditors of IBRC. This payment represents the final instalment of amounts owed to this class of creditors, of which the state, the Irish government and the Irish people will be the single largest beneficiary. So as a result of this transaction and as a result of this liquidation, the state is now in line to receive €600 million in the coming weeks. That's €600 million out of the liquidation of IBRC that we, the state, we, the Irish people, never thought we would see again. The joint special liquidators of the IBRC also confirmed yesterday that it's their expectation that further funds will be available for return to the state following the expected repayment of other creditors, including subordinated bondholders. the joint special liquidators have given no time frame in relation to the commencement of any payments to subordinated bondholders who are owed £267 million, less than half of what the state is going to get. The outcome of the liquidation has far exceeded expectations at the time of the liquidation in 2013. Not only has the state recovered the full amount in guarantee payments incurred as part of the transaction, we now stand to receive further funds in the coming years. Despite extensive liability management exercises, or LMEs, undertaken by IBRC in 2010 and 2011, which significantly reduced the cost of the bailout to the state by £4 billion, approximately £267 million of subordinated debt remained in the bank when it was liquidated in February 2013. This debt remained in situ following LME exercises due to legal issues impacting the success of those exercises. Under the rule of priority, the distribution of assets under the Companies Act to these creditors are now entitled to repayment as the next class of creditor in the liquidation. The Department of Finance has received legal advice that indicates any move to change the priority of distribution would be open to successful legal challenge.
So it is more of the rollover, Leo, and the promise you gave, the promise that Taoiseach gave, the promise that the Minister for Finance gave is just gone now. Because we knew about the legal challenge, but even after these junior bondholders went to the courts, the argument was made by the Governor of the Central Bank that this was a legal battle that was worth having. He impressed on the department to enlist debt restructuring lawyers to take on these bondholders. Now, under your government, you have no problem for the state to take on victims of cervical cancer, or those who are misdiagnosed with cancer in Kerry, or those who are going to the state to make sure that their children have the assessment of needs, going to the courts to make sure that their children can fulfil their full potential. But when it comes to bondholders that are unguaranteed, unsecured, they are being paid out in full under your watch. And what is the Irish taxpayer left with? €33,000 million of a debt. €33,000 million of a debt is the cost of Anglo and Nationwide's disastrous policy that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael captured up. So can I ask you, are you going to do anything in relation to this, or is your promises that was given to the Irish people in 2015 not worth the paper they were written on?
Thank you, Deputy.
Because this is something, and I'll finish on this, this is something that you need to take, and you need to take a legal challenge. You need to ensure that let the bondholders, if they so wish, fight this in the courts, because the Irish people are sick and tired of this government continually rolling over when it comes to bankers,
Deputy,
when it comes to bondholders, when it comes to vulture funds.
Taoiseach.
Deputy, I think it's important to recall what's happened here. Anglo-Irish Bank was a bad bank, a bank that went bust and caused enormous damage to this country. It was bailed out by a previous government, Fianna Fáil, the Greens, to the tune of €30 billion, and we will never see, or we certainly won't see very much of that money ever again. The government that replaced them, Fine Gael and Labour, adopted a different approach. We liquidated that bank, which was at that time called IBRC, because Irish Nationwide was merged with it. So we pursued a different policy, which was one of liquidation. And when a company is liquidated, there's a pot of money usually left at the end, and that has to get distributed. Obviously, if money is owed to the revenue commissioners, they get preference. If money is owed to workers, they get preference. If money is owed to secured creditors, they get preference. And it all goes down the line. And as it turns out, in this liquidation, there was a lot more money left over than people thought there would be. And as a consequence of that, a relatively small number of junior bondholders will get about €260 million back. The Irish people and the Irish state will get more than twice that back. €600 million back, and that should be a positive thing that's welcomed.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Brendan Howlin.